So I'm going to go ahead and click on Chronograph Dashboard. Chronograph, by the way, is a new feature set that's available in ClearStone Live 3.4. Its goal is to be able to provide historical analytics for your data grid. And it's pretty generic. It's not just data grid, but for this demonstration it is. So let's say, for example, I want to look at whether or not I have over-provisioned my data grid, for example, which could happen. So I'm going to click on this template that you see here called Daily Storage Memory Used versus Allocated. It has some more description. I'm going to look at the activity for, let's just say for this month, for one of my clusters. In this case, it's called QA cluster. And I can see that as of the 1st of the month through the 21st, including today, I've allocated basically 40 storage nodes, and memory that's been consumed is roughly around 280 megs, which is not a lot, right? I mean, again, small test environment, but you can measure whether or not you have over-provisioned or unprovisioned your cluster. So if you have 20 JVMs at 1 gig each, and you really only using 2 gigs of storage, you may want to think about whether or not you have over-provision, or in some cases under-provision too. Okay? Let's look at some other reports. I'm going to go ahead and change the layout here. Let's look at 4 reports at a time here. So let's say I want to look at how nodes perform over time here. So let's look at CPU utilization of a particular node, or heap utilization. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and look at host called lab Solaris 9, and let's say I'll look at this one. Actually, I'll pick a different host. So this is the basically heap memory utilization of a host compared to how much time is being spent over in GCs, and this is based on seconds. And this is for each hour of the day. Again, this is a high-level chart. So as far as the granularity of the data that we keep in a database, it's 5 minutes, hourly, and daily. And from that point on, we do all the roll-ups, whether it be on a daily basis, weekly basis, or monthly basis. Okay. Another chart that we can look at here, for example, cache performance reports. So let's look at how busy was a particular cache for yesterday. Okay, so this is based on yesterday's data, and we have all these relative data to make it easier for you to use. You don't have to specify dates. You can specify over a period, week, last week, 7 days, this month, last month, or use a specified date. So we'll look at my sales promotions cache, and let's see how that's performed. Okay, so you see here that in terms of get volume, it peaked out around 94,000 gets on around 5:30 of yesterday, and also at around 850 yesterday. Okay, and you can expand these charts as well. So you may ask the question, how do you build these? I mean, these are stock. This is what you get out of the box when you use it in ClearStone Live. Okay, so how do you build this? So I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick example how we do this. Okay, I'm going to log into a different application, which is called a Chronograph Builder. And this is what we call the Chronograph Builder, and I'm going to go show it and walk you through a quick example. All right. So again, these are the same templates that were available. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly build one for you. I'm going to create a new one called, let's check the number of objects per cache. Okay. Let's make it an area chart, and the next thing I'm going to do is configure what type of chart I want, and this is based on, by the way, this lower left-hand corner is called the navigation panel. It walks you through how to build a chronograph. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is click on this next button. The next button is going to bring me to how do I want to configure my data series. I want to pick Coherence data. Again, the data warehouse that we have in the system is a very open and generic one, and in this case, we did not create a Coherence-specific data warehouse. This is meant to be used for other things in addition to Coherence, right? So, but today, for Coherence, I'm going to look at cache statistics. I'm going to look at average number of objects. And by the way, there's many other KPIs that you can pick and choose from that. We've already done a lot of the pre-aggregations already. There's no unit counts because it's just number of objects. If you were looking at byte counters, then we'll see other things. I'm going to group by cluster name, and I'm going to group by cache name, okay, which is what we want here. And you can give the name of the label. You can change the color of the axes, something like this. And I'm going to turn off some of these right here. And I'm going to go ahead and say, well, what's the default time series? I'm going to look at over the past day, over the past week, or how granular. So let's just look at today, something simple. Make it green, over 5 minutes, or over hourly. Oh, let's look at hourly. That should be good enough for me. And I could change, obviously, set more formatting options here. And now I can specify the parameters that we want to use here. So I'm going to ask the users to put in the cluster name, or you can tell it to hardcode the cluster name here so that it doesn't have to ask for it all the time. And I'm going to do that here. I'm going to by default say this is the cluster that I want. Okay? And then let's say I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to say, okay, well, let's look. I'm going to ask for the cache name. I'm going to leave that open-ended. And last but not least, I want to format the title of the chart. So I'm going to say number of objects per cat. Number of objects, let's make it simple, 4. And then the parameter that I'm going to use here is based on parameter number 2, which happens to be the name of the cache. So the chart titles can be very dynamic here. And I want to say it is, the scope means which day or what period of time. And I'm going to leave everything else out. So I'm going to know, I know how many objects for a particular cache. And I don't need a legend here because I'm only going to be showing one at a time. I'm going to click apply. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and publish this template. And it's saved. Let's go ahead and preview that, okay? So let's preview that, and we'll give it the name of the cache. Let's look at sales promotions again for today. So there you go. That's the volume of objects that I've kept in my sales promotion cache over the day. Okay? All these charts that you see here are viewed using, in this case, the builder, or, let me go back to the UI here, to the real-time console. Actually, it's I closed it up. Let me log in again. Or in the Chronograph viewer. We are planning to add more features and capabilities to expose the data and the charts themselves as an output so you can deliver to your customers, right? This is the first set of features that we have supporting for Chronographs. And again, this is the one I just created, right? So again, I'm going to view that same one back over here, which you see, in your viewer. So right now, we have limitations in terms of, format, exporting this to another source. But again, this is a web browser here, and the data eventually will be made available, just not in a 3.4 release.